A very warm welcome to the viewers of TV9. And today we are kickstarting a very meaningful content conversation which is called Boardroom Brunch, a brainchild of TV9 editorial, and especially of editor Rakesh Kar. But before I introduce my panelists, let me just take you through why we have organized it, what is the intention behind it, and what does it propose and what will it achieve. As we know, TV9 is one of the biggest and one of the most successful networks in India. It's a success story. It has a huge footprint in regional languages. The stupendous success of TV9 Bharatvarsh is known. And TV9 Network is the first company to launch India's world's first news-based OTT platform, which is called News9 Plus. Now, our program will be live casted on every platform. But this boardroom brunch is an effort to bring policymakers, system experts on various issues together to have a meaningful conversation. Generally, if you look at the pattern in our broadcast and mass media, what we get is a very fractured form of news. We do not get an ordered opinion, an ordered information, a meaningful conversation with conclusion and introduction, a meaningful conversation on issues which affect us, which afflict us. And then they become a casualty to electoral democracy. Electoral democracy is good, but they become a casualty. So, for example, the discussion on Parli or Haze takes place in a very banal form. Now, this boardroom brunch is an effort to organize that opinion, get system experts, organize ideas, order them properly, create conclusions, and debate them, propose them, and disseminate them, so that not only people can get educated, but the quality of discourse improves. Because ultimately, journalism is about quality of discourse. The modern journalism today, unfortunately, somehow gets overshadowed. I will not say dominated, but overshadowed by debates on social media, mass media. This boardroom brunch is to break that clutter. So I congratulate Mr. Kar for coming up with this beautiful concept and idea. Thank you very much. And this is the first one. And we will be doing it more on multiple issues, where experts, policymakers, people who organize opinion in the street can come together and have a meaningful conversation, a meaningful conclusion, and a meaningful discourse which enriches our journalism, content creators, and provide an insight to our policymakers who somehow get buffered from what's actually happening on the ground. But maybe this is the nature of power. Maybe this is the way power orders itself. So let me just introduce our eminent panel. I'm joined by Mahesh Chand Mehta. He's an environmentalist. You know, I really don't need to go into detail that he also was awarded Ramanon Magsaysay's award, and he's a Padma Shri awardee. I am also joined by Kavita Ashok, a noted environmental activist, Nimish Singh, Associate Fellow Terry. I'm also joined by Mr. Sardana, Vijay Sardana, agricultural economist and man who wears many hats. Avikal Somvanshi from Center for Science and Environment. Welcome to you, sir. Dr. Vinod Tare, welcome. Founding head, Center for Ganga River Basin Management and Studies, a very important program. For anyone interested in life sciences, future of Indo-Gangetic plains, water security, and its impact on our security, national security. Generally, people don't tend to conflate environment with national security, but with the third pole getting militarized and weaponized with what we saw at Yangtze day before, 2 days ago, which was made public yesterday evening, it should be a great cause of concern. We are also joined by Subhash Sharma ji, author, environmentalist. We are also joined by Professor C.S. Dubey, Vice Chancellor, Kya Mangalam University. Welcome to you, sir. Thank you for making time. Piyush Mahapatra ji, Assistant Director, Toxic Links. And Partha Basu, air quality strategic expert on pollution, something which really concerns us every day, because somehow people think that air pollution is about bad air and a little bit of coughing without realizing, with a bit of a study I was doing, that in 2021, more than 1 million people died because of air pollution. So I'll start with you, and you may take the mic. And what I really want you to is to set this conversation up, but with my little question, if Beijing can do it, if Mexico City can do it, why is Delhi grappling with GRAP?
I think that when there is a determination, then the things can be done. But if it is a, when there is a determination to do things, the things happen. And in this country also it happens. But unfortunately, the environment is on the sidelines because there are too many interests in that. So whether we breathe air is contaminated. Even if you monitor in this room also, I'm sure that it will be higher pollution over here, you know. So the same way, when we are not safe in our homes, how we can be safe when we go out? So in the out, everywhere, you know, you can see the pollution of all levels, whether it's the industrial pollution, it is this burning of the crops and all this. You are here there, and you know whatever is happening in Punjab and everywhere. So this is the people, they are silently suffering. A majority of people in this country, maybe that is 70–80%, only those who are rich, they can have their own systems at home and control to some extent, you know, the pollution levels. But otherwise, when their children, they go out and they meet me in the schools and the colleges and everywhere, and they say, it is very bad. And one industrialist came to me and he said, he was all the time, he was a good friend, but he was all the time opposing me. He said, no, industry will be closed down, this will happen. And he called me, I don't want to name him a big person, and he called me, he said, MC, I want to come and meet you. I said, we have never met. We were just in the meetings and all that. He said, no, I have to come. And he said, you are right. I said, what? He said, no, because let me tell you that my son is suffering. So I saw his face, and I said, please don't mind. If now you have realized after a long time, you are running the industry, and when people were protesting, you never thought that. But he apologized. It is a good, humbleness on his part. He said, no, I'm sorry. Can you take my son? He will be coming to you. And he did internship with me, and that child was a different person. So he's quite young person. So now the thing is that we have to sow the seeds. That wherever the seed, if you are growing, the soil, when we talk about, if you put the soil and then the seed in that soil, that if the soil is contaminated, what is going to happen? So here in India, it is so sad that air pollution, you can see, it is highly polluted, many cities are polluted, the groundwater is highly polluted even, and the depth of the groundwater has gone up to 500 feet, 700 feet, and what are you going to do? This is not the development model. This is not the way the things should happen. So here it is not that concern of one person, everybody should be concerned about the life and safety and the development of this great country. We have this, all those things, but it is how to manage. So that's why my first reaction to this. And the two is that awareness. It has to be created at wider scale. If we don't create awareness, if we don't go and we sit and just, many friends, they come and meet me, they said, Mr. Mehta, pollution बहुत बड़ी हो गई है. मैंने कहा क्या बड़ी हो गई, इतनी हाइट में बड़ी हो गई, छोटी हो गई, क्या हो गया? कहते नहीं, हाँ बस बहुत हाई हो गई है, मैं तो मेरा बच्चा भी नहीं कर सकता, मुझे भी जो वो मास्क पहन के जो घूमना पड़ता है। तो मैंने कहा वाई आर यू सिटिंग आइडल ओवर हियर, वाई यू आर वेस्टिंग टाइम विद मी, you why don't you educate people in your area? So if we don't do grassroots actions, I don't think that sitting here in this hotel or in the other places and all that we can change the world. So the first thing is that we have to become not inactive, active, action-oriented people. So only when we become that, I think things can change. That is my wish, and I think that happens also.
Are we missing what's for the trees, Kavita ji? You know, the whole issue is that the debate, and let me take the conversation from here, is somehow in last 4 or 5 years, it starts from Parli and ends at Parli. But if you look at the data, and a bit of research which I did, I was astounded to know that there are other forms of pollution, air pollution. I'll take it to the air pollution. Industries, biomass, vehicles, even in vehicles, a particular type of vehicles with particular type of engine. So are we missing a larger picture that maybe we are looking at a larger lifestyle issues? For example, lack of efficient public transport. For example, Vietnam, people use cycles. Are we missing the bigger picture somehow? Because we can have micro conversation on industry, soil, Parli related technology, cars, catalytic converters. But are we missing that larger thing, that there's a lifestyle issue, the consumption patterns?
Firstly, I want to say that air pollution has no political boundaries. So when I'm sitting in Delhi and my children are suffering, my elder people are suffering at home, it is a story of homes in maybe in UP, Lucknow, Kanpur, Delhi, NCR, everywhere. So to feel that I am an island and whatever action every citizen is taking is not affecting the whole picture, the bigger picture, is a wrong thing to even contemplate. So secondly, with urbanization, you know what we did? We pushed out the forest. So when we are cutting the forest, when we are pushing the forest out, what do we expect? Concrete jungles. With concrete jungles has come a different lifestyle. More vehicles on the road. The population of Delhi has crossed 3 crores. So many people in a limited city. So what we did, we expanded. We have Delhi, NCR and beyond. We have construction, Delhi, Bhiwadi. People are saying buy apartments in Bhiwadi. You can work in Delhi. So you can imagine what we are doing to ourselves. What kind of lifestyle is that? I also work on public health with certain hospitals at the ground level.
Isn't this typical American,
yes,
North American, East Coast suburban culture?
Absolutely.
That it's okay to travel 75 miles,
yes,
go to work and come back to your big,
absolutely,
beautiful house with trees.
Yes.
But you're not concerned about the sort of carbon you are
yes.
emitting.
So I think the carbon footprint each of us is generating, because before the discussion started, we were saying that the rich and the near rich can afford purifiers at home. We can afford cars and we can, pull up our windows. We can live in the suburbs with forest and green trees and a swimming pool. But that's not the real picture of India. The real picture of India is in the villages. It's in the schools where, municipal schools where children are coming in the morning and they can't smoke, so they can't breathe. So what is happening? Schools are shut. So I think I am I feel very disappointed when every year, as an environmentalist, I see the only solution that the government takes, SOS, as soon as possible, ki band kar do sab school. What kind of a lifestyle is this? I don't remember getting one chutti in my school life because of air pollution. We were going to school in snow, we were going to school in rains, and children were tougher, better immunity. See, it's not only one thing, as you said, it's affecting everything, our health, our immunity levels, because we have weaker lungs, we have so many, diseases coming up, because when I'm able to say this because my environment work correlates to the work I do in community health with hospitals and slums. So I understand when we do a PFT test, I wonder if people understand the pulmonary function lungs test. Every year I do for a group of people before the pollution sets in and after. There is a drastic change in the data, I mean, adverse effect on the lungs. So I just feel that where are we lacking? Urbanization, okay. Population, okay, I understand. All the factors I understand. Magar political will kahan hai? Where is it? It's only on the election mandate. On the ground level, because I work, I don't see much change happening. This is a correct answer.
You see, my basic question remains the same, and Partha, I'll get you in here. Are we failing to respond as cities? When I used the word Beijing, when I said Mexico, they responded as an organism. People participated. It was a collective behavior. Certain norms changed. Where are we failing in Delhi? There has to be some failure at systemic level. Behavior at an individual level has not changed. So you can't have rules and then you can't have a population of 3 crores not following those rules. So those rules are useless. We can talk about a local climate changing because of deforestation of Aravalli. We can talk about the sort of pollution which is generated in the wood-fired kitchens in rural areas. We can just go on and on. But there is no response at the level where cities fight back. Why?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Karthikeya, because when it comes to air pollution control, probably the control mechanism has to happen at a city level, because ultimately there will be a lot of big sources like industries and other sources which will continue to pollute a large area. And Kavita talked about how air pollution knows no boundary and spreads. But when it comes to the number of sources, and when you look at the minute sources in an urban area, they are getting much larger and larger. I'll give you an example. The city conditions have changed drastically in last decade or more. There was a time when Delhi used to have X number of cars and Y number of cars. Today those X have become X into thousands, and they have just gone multiples. If you look at the instances of garbage burning in small instances, then those instances have been multiplied. I'm just trying to give you a picture, an illustration, like if you have a small incense in the room, compare that situation with 1,000 incense sticks in the room. So it is just the sheer number, the volume of the problem that is going up. The government's NCAP, which is actually arming the cities by giving them better budget in order to do that, now have started looking at the micro action plans. But earlier there was no importance given to that. You talked about the transit-oriented development. Yes, I mean, Americans travel 100 kilometers for their place of work. I mean, why should we adopt that kind of a culture? We should go for a development where people can reach their place of work either by walking or by cycling or by a 5-minute ride or by public transport. So, I mean, that kind of ease.
Weren't older cities built like that?
Exactly. So if you look at Banaras, you can't take your vehicle, you have to walk, you have to take your cycle. I think in many ways that is so good because it keeps you fit and it keeps the environment much cleaner. So I think there is a way we have to sit down and think about how we are designing our cities, how we are making our society more confident, because to be very honest, it is not only about just air pollution. Walkability is all about confidence of a citizen also.
Yeah. I think you made a very important point, because this is something which Prime Minister Modi during his campaign brought into public discourse. People wanted good cities, nice cities, but smart cities as a concept got politically introduced. Vijayji, when we talk about smart cities, our idea of a smart city is a connected city. It's a communication-friendly city because that's what we want. A good 3G, then came 4G, and now the 5G has arrived. Some sort of automation. But smart cities globally, they're green cities. Even if that wild fantasy of Mohammed bin Salman to build that NEOM, if you look at the ads, is premised on a green city. The first thing you watch on Twitter is how much sunlight will be utilized. Premise. It's a wild idea. You can't carve out life like that without building organic life cycles. But then even that has a sense of what it means to have green technologies. Do you feel that we are failing somewhere because the idea of a smart city is not propagating the idea of a green city. And I'll give you an example before you can take this conversation forward. In many places in Lower Manhattan, disused flyways have been converted into parks. Many areas have been recolonized not by men and women, but by plants and trees. So we don't display that sense of getting the green back, because life has a way of coming back. I remember here in the first wave of pandemic, we could see Nilgais right in front of that huge mall. And then I think everyone must have noticed, people could see dolphins in Venice, the wildlife came back, you had warthogs in Rome. So nature has a way of balancing, but we don't seem to give our nature a chance, one little chance.
सबसे पहले आप सबको नमस्कार। हिंदी में चलेगा?
बिल्कुल चलेगा।
देखिए, सबसे पहले गलतियां कहाँ हो रही हैं? हम जितने भी पॉल्यूशन की बात कर रहे हैं, हम बात कर रहे हैं कि कोई और सॉल्व करेगा। सरकार क्या कर रही है, समाज क्या कर रहा है। सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है निज पर शासन फिर अनुशासन। हम क्या कर रहे हैं, हम अपने घर में क्या कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि वी आर न्यूक्लियस और आई कैन से सेल ऑफ ए सोसाइटी। शुरुआत वहाँ से होगी। और बहुत सारे हमारे साथी और दर्शक ये सोच रहे होंगे कि साहब पॉल्यूशन से, मेरे घर में तो पॉल्यूशन नहीं है। मैं कुछ एग्जांपल देता हूँ, उससे हम सबको ये पता लगेगा कि हमारे घर में पॉल्यूशन है या नहीं है और हम अकाउंटेबल हैं या नहीं है। शुरुआत वहाँ से होगी और हर आदमी एक एक कदम बढ़ेगा तो 140 करोड़ कदम इस देश में बढ़ जाएंगे। सवाल वहाँ है। आपको लगता है कि आपके घर में पॉल्यूशन नहीं है, आप अपने एसी को खोलिए, उसका जो फिल्टर है उसको हटा के देखिए उसमें कितनी डस्ट है। वो कहाँ से आई? वो बाहर से नहीं आई, वो आपके घर के अंदर है। वही डस्ट आपकी सांस में जा रही है। अब आप कहेंगे माय गॉड, इतनी सारी डस्ट मेरे एसी में क्यों आई? आप जिम्मेवार हैं। पहला सवाल। अगर आप अपने एसी को 12 महीने क्लीन करते हैं तो 12 महीने आप गंदी सांस ले रहे हैं। पराली का इशू नहीं है। पराली एक्सट्रीम एक वेदर में होती है, वो आउटसाइड होती है। घर में पराली स्पर्कुलेट होके आती है, पराली का फ्यूम। तो अगर आपके एसी में डस्ट आती है, फिल्टर्स आपके चोक होते हैं, तो समझ लीजिए आपके घर के अंदर पॉल्यूशन है। इसके लिए आपको कोई भारत सरकार नहीं चाहिए बताने के लिए, पहली बात। दूसरा, आपके बिजली का बिल कितना आता है? जितना ज्यादा आपका बिजली का बिल आएगा उतना ज्यादा आप इस समाज में कार्बन फुटप्रिंट क्रिएट कर रहे हैं। आप कहेंगे सरकार कार्बन फुटप्रिंट पे क्या कर रही है? यू आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल। आपका 1000 रुपये बिल आता है या 2000 आता है? अगर आपका 1000 आता है और पड़ोसी का 500 आता है, यू आर मोर पॉल्यूटर देन योर नेबर, एक्सेप्ट द फैक्ट। सो वी हैव टू डिमार्क इंडिविजुअल सिटीजन की हु इज कॉन्ट्रीब्यूटिंग हाउ मच पॉल्यूशन। आपका पानी का बिल कितना आता है? दैट इज योर वाटर फुटप्रिंट। आप समाज का कितना पानी वेस्ट कर रहे हैं। आपका अगर वाटर का बिल 20,000 आ रहा है और आपके पड़ोसी का 10,000 आ रहा है, यू आर मोर पॉल्यूटर देन योर नेबर, देन योर फ्रेंड, एक्सेप्ट दिस फैक्ट। आपका मेडिकल बिल कितना आ रहा है? क्योंकि 80% ऑफ हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स आर ड्यू टू बैड वाटर एंड बैड फूड। आप खा क्या रहे हैं? आप गंदा खाना खा रहे हैं, इसीलिए आपके घर का मेडिकल बिल ज्यादा है। तो ये कहना कि साहब मैं क्या करूं, सरकार क्या कर रही है, आपके घर के बिल का एनालिसिस कर लीजिए ना, कि आपके एसी में गंदगी है या नहीं है, आपका बिजली का बिल कितना है, आपका पानी का बिल कितना है, आपका मेडिकल बिल कितना। अगर ये ज्यादा है, यू आर लिविंग ए पॉल्यूटेड लाइफस्टाइल, एक्सेप्ट दिस फैक्ट। अब सवाल ये है कि करना क्या है। आपको सिर्फ इन बिल को घटाने के बारे में सोचना है। आपके घर में बिजली का बिल आप कैसे कम करें, ये आपको सोचना है, सरकार नहीं सोचेगी। आपके घर में पानी का बिल कैसे कम हो, ये आपको सोचना है, सरकार नहीं सोचेगी। और अगर हर आदमी ये सोच ले कि मैं एक साल में 20% ये सारे बिल कम करूंगा, समाज में 20% पॉल्यूशन कम हो जाएगा।
Vijay, I understand the larger import of the conversation, which is a sort of ecological friendly lifestyle. But Avikal bhai, how do we tackle air pollution? See, the issue is right now emergency buttons need to be pressed. I started the debate on the note of consumption pattern, because that is a part of conversation which people miss because they go into details. But then I think what Delhi requires is certain tangible actions. I think it'll be I think that's the best thing which we can which we can create from this conversation is at least 5 tangible things which Delhi needs to do. I think what do we need to do?
Very true. As we have been talking, city as an organism needs to tackle it, whether it was Beijing or Mexico City, we did it. And there's too much pressure being put on citizens to do certain things, but it doesn't add up because we are limited by what the city provides us. If we don't have a bus to take to our work, we ought to take whatever we do. And building the infrastructure in the city cannot be pushed or done by a single citizen or single family. The governments need to come in and do that. Delhi has done that in past. When the Delhi shifted the whole public transportation from diesel to CNG, that was a major shift which was actually visible in Delhi's air quality. The air quality of the city improved when that shift happened. But we quickly lost all of these because we didn't pay attention to what the motorization of the larger traffic. We made the buses CNG and cleaner, but we didn't make the service good. It was not a comfortable ride to take. And people started buying their scooters and cars, and the numbers have multiplied over the years. And instead of trying to tackle the problem of how to make sure that people are not forced to buy a car and drive to their work and make our buses and metro better, we started making more roads, wider roads. And when you provide more space for these things to come, like a wild invasive species, they take up all the spaces. And we didn't do anything about it. Okay, we made the roads, but we never did anything to manage the parking of the thing. Most of the roads we made right now are occupied by parking of the vehicles. So it reduces the space on which the things can flow.
I think that's a brilliant point. People talk about poor people's encroachment. You go to any rich family, first thing they do is bungalow, they'll encroach on the pathway.
Of course.
And these days, if you look at the norm, or if you look at the, what has started to happen, they have started to encroach on the other side also, where they have started to put up a huge generator.
Yeah. And not just that, if you look at the colony levels, go to any South Delhi colony, whether it's Defense Colony, Greater Kailash, CR Park, they have put gates. People cannot walk across these things. A distance for me from my house to the market would have been very easy, 5 minutes walk if those gates were not there. Now I have to take this circuitous route which makes it a kilometer walk, and I can do it. I'm young and fit, but 20 years down the line, if I have anything, and if my parents cannot do it, they're forced to ask like, oh, can you take your car out and take me to the market when it's a 5 minutes walk if those gates were not put in. So all these things which the city has led to happen, the failure of governance and administration in the city is massive. I bike to my office. It's a 30 minutes bike ride from my home. Most of my colleagues are shocked that I do it, but it's a danger I'm opting to do. I don't expect my parents to do it. I don't expect my colleagues to do it. It's a dangerous road to drive on, but nothing has been done to make biking safe in the city. And it's kind of frowned upon when you do it on the road because the hostile nature of...
So you're basically saying that good cities, environmental friendly cities make cycling and walking safe.
Safe and easy actually. And that's not what's happening, and that's one of the reasons why Delhi or Noida or Gurgaon are failing to control motorization. You cannot stop people from buying car and using car if you have such shitty transportation and road services and making walking so difficult. You make bicycle tracks as a recreational service, like log aake wahan pe cycling, morning cycling karenge. You're not making bicycling tracks for people to commute to work and come back. There is a large population of this country or this city which still bikes. Our cooks, our drivers, our security guard, they still bike. But nobody is providing space for them to continue biking. You are making it even more difficult for them to bike. And then we say that, oh, we made a bicycling track in Lodi Gardens. Who will use it? What purpose of that bicycling track is? You can get an award from international community for making a bicycling track, but that's a useless backing site, doesn't solve any problem. So those kind of things needs to be done. We have to start looking the problem from engineering and from administrative purposes, and make sure that the city infrastructure which we are building, and we are building every day, includes all these elements which makes it easier for people to choose better options instead of just taking a car out.
No, metro was, Mr. Sharma, metro was one option, but it's like bursting from its seams. It's just that we have not been. It's like 1980s. Middle class stopped going to cinemas. The nature of cinema changed. Middle class is not using public transport in this city.
Partly true. Some persons who had one car, now they have 3-4 cars. So consumption level has increased multifold. And because of this, carbon emission is also very high. Though we say that America is emitting about 20 tons per head annually, and we are emitting only 1.4 or 1.5 tons per head. But cumulatively, being a large population, we are also emitting huge. So we have to see that in metros also, that how our consumption style has changed a lot. And now it is thought that if you are earning higher income, you have to be the owner of a vehicle. I mean 3-4 vehicles. And that is guzzling of SUVs. That petrol, diesel, etc. too much is consumed by big vehicles. So that Bharat Stage 6 is also far behind. We have been still at 4, stage 4.
May I interrupt you? Because, I know you have an absolutely important point to make that, SUVs are guzzlers. But the air pollution is primarily in Delhi from Tutti. Those converters, now what do? You can't expect rich to drive an SUV and expect poor person not to drive a two-wheeler. But the nature of that beast is such, it's creating worst sort of pollutants. If not pollution, worst component of pollution.
That is true. I agree with you. That is true. But if we see the overall picture, we find that India is ranking now in Environment Performance Index 180 out of 180 countries. That have
63 cities out of 100
no,
are Indian cities in air pollution.
I'm saying different thing. 180 countries were studied all over the world, and India's rank is 180. That means last. And 63 cities, you are right, that globally, but out of 50 toxic air producing cities out in the world, 35 are in India. And the second thing is that now not only Delhi is average 344 air quality index, microgram, 344 microgram per cubic meter, but small cities like Darbhanga, it is 395, Purnia 392, Patna.
Why? Can you just take our viewers, because most of the things we assume that, as policy experts, viewers would know why. Can you just take us through why?
Yeah. Earlier, we did not have monitors. Now we have got monitors in many places, many small cities, small towns. So now we are coming to new facts, which we are very away from, and we were concentrating only on cities. And this city concentration is not, I think, going to fulfill our target, because National Clean Air Program is monitoring only 132 cities in entire India out of so many hundreds of cities. So there should be air shed and geographical area concept, that a particular region should be studied so that we get a comprehensive viewpoint, not only a city-centric viewpoint. And therefore, our policy making has to be of structural type. Now we are only doing functional things, that something here and there incremental changes are being done. And in agriculture also, there is a need for change, because too much water is consumed in irrigation, So drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation is to be popularized. In some areas it is being done, but it has to be done all over India. And this PM 2.5, that is very, very fine. About 1 by 13th width of hair, human hair. So fine we are not able to see it, but it is most damaging. And therefore, we have to be conscious individually, as Mr. Sardana was saying, then civil society, then market, industries. Most of the miners, most of industries are creating such things, and of course, ultimately the government. So all fronts are to work together to reduce this pollution all over India.
I think when you spoke about the area thing, Dr. Tare, there is a specific nature of the Indo-Gangetic Plains. I remember I was doing a show, and somehow the mood was at that point of time against the Aam Aadmi Party, and the whole idea was that you said, Delhi will be, the bad days of Delhi will be over if, you'll have a government in Punjab, because we'll tackle the issue of Parli. And obviously there was a studio outrage. And the studio outrage was that AAP is not doing enough. And the gentleman said, this is about the plains of South Asia, and it's coming from the Punjab side of Pakistan, and air has no boundaries. So I was slightly stumped, because I think I fell short on my research at that point of time. I said, maybe it's true, because maybe they are also burning Parli. But then when the program was over, when I went through more papers, I realized that Indo-Gangetic Plains behave differently. Pollution tends to settle in here more because of local feature. Then we have done changes at micro level. For example, the Aravalis have been denuded. So it started to affect our climate. My question to you is that, are we failing to also factor air pollution in rural areas? And what are the sources of air pollution in rural areas which needs to be tackled, as he was saying, that we can't be just city-centric? Okay, I'll take this conversation further. Yes, we need to broaden our field, but if we have to factor those rural areas, what are the focus areas? Where should the government, policymakers and people on ground be working on?
Okay. I think the sources of air pollution, when we talk about, they are from everywhere. And I think invariably we ignore, I think rural areas probably emit more than only the cities. Particularly if you talk about the day-to-day activities, and more importantly, the biomass burning, okay? What we have done is people will do what is easiest for them to do, right? So why are we going to options which are otherwise harmful, but they are easy for people to do it? So obviously, so one is, if it is easy for people to do it, they'll do it. If it is economically more viable for them, they will do it. Okay. All the time we are talking about environment as an issue of morality. I think it has to be part and part of our daily, and if I can say, unless until you value and economically value things, the things are. And another thing that we are talking about, of course we have issues, no doubt about it, there are problems, but we also need to talk about measuring things that we need to measure and indexing it. Like, for example, I am not sure the air quality index that we talk about, and on the basis of that we say India has the world's most polluted cities or whatever. It may be true, but are we actually having the right kind of measurements and indices? I can give you my own example, work on Ganga. All the time you say, people say Ganga is the most polluted river of the world. I want to ask a question, what is the basis to say that? Just because at some few places, aesthetically there are some filthy conditions, on the basis of that we say Ganga is the worst. But if you look at the 2,500 kilometers length of the river, out of that just 100 kilometers is the one. But rest of the 2,400 kilometers there is good ecology, good life, good biodiversity, and then we say it's the worst, most polluted kind of thing. So I think this is also an important issue when you are, like he talked about, the air quality index based on what we are measuring now is probably much worse and probably has been like that for years together. So are we really reflecting the right kind of situation, or we are just borrowing, those kind of things from elsewhere and then trying to find solutions to do that. So I think this is again a very different kind of things that we have, and to some extent, I'm little knowledgeable about how these indices are developed and what these indices are. Do they reflect properly? Same thing in Ganga water quality and other things. So I think we need to have a very different, and then we use those parameters, rely on the court, and then courts or NGTs gives all kinds of orders, and we are probably where we should put the efforts, we are putting in a different direction. So I think that is where we need to worry about. Yes, the climatic conditions, setting of a particular place and particular kind of weeks, if we can talk about what we see a problem in Delhi in particular weeks, that is something that we have to live with it. Climate and nature and weather is something. But we also have to look at, what kind of, and unless until we build this into our making it easy what is good for the environment. It cannot be on morality basis.
Professor Dubey, are we asking the right questions? Seeker wants to know the answer, but I think the proof of the pudding is also in the asking right questions. Are we asking the right questions? Because then we'll lead to right answers.
You are asking the questions, to that the answers, many people know about that. There are some things which have come up which are really looking at that our expert has said that you have to count upon the individual environmental social governance, which is very, very important now, because time has come that you have to change yourself, change the human body. क्षितिजल पावन गगन सबीरा, इससे बना हम शरीरा. तो यही सब चीज़ें हैं जिससे हम बने हुए हैं, और अगर इसका ख्याल नहीं रखेंगे तो कुछ नहीं रखेंगे. और भी चीज़ें आई हैं जैसे पॉल्यूशन के लिए हम लोग जानते हैं. सबसे बड़ी हमारी वो है कि हम इसको किस तरह से इसका अवेयरनेस, किस तरह से इसको हम लेके जाएं समाज में, और किस तरह से उसको हम करें. हम हर चीज़ को अपोज करते रहने से फ़ायदा नहीं है. वी हैव टू फाइंड सॉल्यूशंस फॉर दैट. और सॉल्यूशंस कैसे मिलेंगे? मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूँ. हमने अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में 5 गांव जो आस पड़ोस के, उनके साथ एक MOU किया है. हमने DC के साथ मिलकर एक MOU किया, और हमने कहा हम इन 5 गांव में सब प्रॉब्लम्स देखेंगे. पोल्यूशन देखेंगे, सैनिटेशन देखेंगे, हाइजीन देखेंगे, हम फूड क्या खाते हैं वो देखेंगे. वो जो मार्जिनल फार्मर्स हैं, वो फार्मर्स जो कि मार्जिनल फार्मर्स थे और अभी जाके कोविड में जिनकी हालत ख़राब हो गई, और जाके वो जो है स्टेट में वो लेबर का काम करते हैं, हम उनको वापस कैसे लाएं ये देखेंगे. हम जो है उनकी ज़रूरतें, एक वहाँ पे बैठे बड़े, वो खुद बहुत इनोवेटिव होते हैं रूरल गांव वाले. उन्होंने मुझे बताया कि हमारे यहाँ एक प्लांट है शलाकी. आप इस शलाकी को अगर आप ग्रो कर दो तो हमारी करोड़ों की क्या कहते हैं पैदा हो जाएगी. ये ज़मीन जो एकदम बहुत जबरदस्त होगी, और एक शलाकी का बड़ा पेड़ लगा हुआ है. मैंने कोशिश करी, मैं उसमें सफल नहीं हो पाया, लेकिन कोशिश कर रहा हूँ. तो मेरा ये कहना है कि जब तक हम चीज़ों को समझेंगे नहीं उनके साथ, तो मैं यूनिवर्सिटी में कहता हूँ कि 4 चीज़ें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हैं. पहला तो है कि मेरे आस पड़ोस में जो भी सिस्टम है, चाहे वो पोल्यूशन हो, चाहे वो रूरल एरियाज हो, चाहे वो बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. दूसरी चीज़, मैं खुद इम्पॉर्टेंट हूँ कि मैं कितना एमिट कर रहा हूँ, जैसे कह रहे हैं, और उसको मैं कैसे कम कर सकता हूँ. तीसरी चीज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि हम किसके साथ, सबके साथ कोलैबोरेशंस करके, बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट है. हम अगर सिस्टम के साथ कोलैबोरेशंस करें और कोलैबोरेशंस करके काम करें. सब काम मुझे नहीं आते. मैं इंडस्ट्री के साथ कोलैबोरेट करना चाहता हूँ, इंडस्ट्री की प्रॉब्लम्स जानना चाहता हूँ क्या है, और उसको हम कैसे ठीक कर सकते हैं. मेरे स्टूडेंट्स अगर शायद उस पर रिसर्च करें तो बहुत अच्छी इंडस्ट्री का पार्ट हो सकते हैं. तो मेरा ये कहना है कि हम लोगों को, मैं बिकॉज मैं वाइस चांसलर हूँ, मुझे अब ये चीज़ें सोचनी पड़ती हैं. साइंटिस्ट के अलावा मैं साइंटिस्ट भी रहा हूँ, मैं इंडस्ट्री में भी एनवायरनमेंट पॉल्यूशन में रहा, क्लियरेंस में रहा, मैं कई जगह क्लियरेंस में रहा. मैंने कोशिश ये करी है कि सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढें हम लोग जो है अपोजिशन तो सब करते हैं सर, लेकिन हम सॉल्यूशंस ढूंढें, और सॉल्यूशन इस तरह के, इनका सॉल्यूशन था कि इंडेक्सिंग होनी चाहिए, बहुत ज़रूरी है, जीरो से इंडेक्सिंग शुरू होनी चाहिए, इंडेक्सिंग के स्टैंडर्डाइजेशन पैरामीटर्स उसके फिक्स होने चाहिए। अभी आप लोगों ने कोई भी पैरामीटर जो है, आपने सॉक्स नॉक्स इन सब की बात करी या PM 2.5 की बात करी, मैं तो कहता हूं कि अभी वॉलेटाइल्स के बारे में हम बिल्कुल नहीं सोच रहे हैं, VOCs के बारे में हम लोग BTX के बारे में बिल्कुल नहीं सोच रहे हैं, बेंजीन इथाइलिन टोलुइन ज़ाइलिन। आप जाइए ना पेट्रोल पंप के पास खड़े होइए, आपको पता चलेगा कितनी स्मेल आ रही है और उसके अंदर क्या है, कैंसर आपके, और वो क्या पता वो रेजिडेंशियल एरिया में जा रहा है, क्या पता वो कहीं और जा रहा है, और कैसे उसको आप इनहेल कर रहे हो, है ना। इसके अलावा आपके जो ट्रेस एलिमेंट्स हैं, आर्सेनोकोसिस, सिलिकोसिस, जो कि मार्जिनल फार्मर जब एस्टेट पे काम करता है और जाके मैं देख रहा हूँ तो मैं उसके भी टेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, एनीमा, D3 की कमी, विटामिन D3 की कमी, आपने जैसे कहा सनलाइट, एनीमा और कैंसर, ये 3 बड़ी बीमारियां जो हैं इससे ले रही, हर आदमी को आप खुद जाके अपना कर लीजिए, आपको भी मैं गारंटी कहता हूं कि आपका D3 कम होगा। ये क्यों है? ये इसी हवा के बीच में जो पोल्यूशन है उसकी वजह से है। तो ये अगर हम लोगों को अवेयरनेस कराएं, समझाएं और उसको हम आगे बढ़ें, तो मुझे लगता है कि बहुत कुछ हो सकता है। वी हैव टू पुट ईच एंड एवरी, जैसे मैं बार बार बोल रहा हूँ, एनवायरमेंटल सोशल गवर्नेंस का सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा जो है वो है कि जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स बहुत अच्छे बनाए गए हैं, उसमें हम इंडिविजुअल की जो कार्बन फुटप्रिंट है, वाई कार्बन फुटप्रिंट, एवरी एस्पेक्ट, वो सब एस्पेक्ट लेके हम अपने आप को अगर हम साफ कर लें तो बाकी सब साफ हो जाएगा।
If I have to ask you, because you spoke in context of solutions, and I very much appreciate it, what are the 3 things which Delhi or NCR needs to do to tackle air pollution immediately?
सबसे पहले तो अवेयरनेस इन द सेंस कि सबसे पहले जो अवेयरनेस है कि आप गाड़ी चलाते हो और गाड़ी के अंदर जो आपने जैसे बताया कि टाइप ऑफ पेट्रोल्स और डीजल्स और जो CNGs, अभी मेरे यहाँ जो है, मैं एक बड़ी सोसाइटी में रहता हूँ तो वहाँ एक झगड़ा हो रहा था कि अब वहाँ पे इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स आ गई हैं, लेकिन इलेक्ट्रिक व्हीकल्स का चार्जिंग का सबसे बड़ा मुद्दा है। तो ये जो प्रॉब्लम्स है ना, इनको सबसे पहले हमें समझना चाहिए कि हम इनको जो ला रहे हैं इनको हम कैसे सॉल्व करेंगे। तो सबसे बड़ी चीज़ है इंडिविजुअल की कि वो उसको समझाया जाए, उसको एक अच्छी तरीके से समझाया जाए और उस पर कुछ रूल्स भी लागू किए जाए। मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि आप बगैर उसको करिए, जब तक आप कुछ यहाँ इस देश के अंदर आपको कुछ लागू करनी है चीज़ जो कि सबके ऊपर हो, तब आपके ऊपर चलेगा। तो सबसे पहले कुछ, एक तो इंडिविजुअल देखें, एक उनको आप जो है ये सिखाएं, अवेयरनेस दें, और सबसे बड़ी चीज़ें कुछ एक इसके रूल्स रेगुलेशन जो है दोबारा सोचेंगे कैसे होंगे, तभी हो सकता है।
Partha just corrected me, and you know this is a separate subject also. Piyush, to you, you know trucks and heavy vehicles are 5% of the total run, but they are responsible for 70% of the PM pollution. Now we'll take this up as a separate thing, but in context of the haze of NCR, are there specific things in mind? Because a lot of people when they read newspaper, the first thing they are told is that the GRAP is in action. If that mechanism is in action, how come the air doesn't improve?
Yes, thanks for again. You know, we have already experts discussed many things. We have Mr. Mehta sir is here. I think I still remember, sir, when in 2002 I probably won. I was studying in Delhi University. Due to the CNG crisis, all buses stopped in one day, and people started, you know, traveling in the road, and it was full of no buses in the. It was a one go. All the buses had been stopped. I still remember, because it's not that the things has been not done. I still remember in 1990 when this diesel vehicle was there, in 2000, it was too polluted. I was traveling from that, you know, to Delhi University from what is that near to railway station area. That it was too. It was. I came from Odisha, and it was too terrible to, you know, manage here. I used to run away from Delhi, you know, many times to my home. So that was the situation, but things improved gradually after this CNG thing came and Supreme Court's danda laga, to काफी improve हुआ था, and thanks to, I think, sir is here, I think. But the issue is that after that things suddenly within 10 years, I think perhaps in 2010, this whole, Punjab crisis came and many things started out. And also Delhi, I've seen the expansion of Delhi, as a urban centers. We couldn't think of travel to, Vaishali, Ghaziabad at that time, and now I'm staying in Vaishali. So, this large-scale urbanization started, and we didn't, perhaps not think of that. And what have we done? We have done some ad hoc approach here and there, some, so that is one of the biggest crises. The way the expansion that was not visualized even at the policy levels also. The way I'm now talking about not Delhi, it's all about Delhi NCR basically. It's not Delhi. People are traveling from Meerut, from from Alwar also they've started, and we are so planning to take people from out. Also, thanks to we have doing some public transport system. So it's a very I think when we are talking about air pollution, it's need a huge vision. That vision was lacking. I think still,
Are you talking about limitless urbanization, where
that's
one city merges into another?
Yeah,
the city has no sense of self, It just radiates out and out. Secunderabad and Hyderabad.
Yeah, exactly. This, we are not thinking of that. And at the same time, we are not concerned about the way urbanization happening and also how to tackle the other, environmental challenges. We are talking about biomass burning, and sir told about, many things about invisible problem like VOC. I'm talking about dioxin, furan. Many waste burnings, it's a huge challenge, and dioxin furan is the main cause of cancers from this, combustion of this biomass and other plastics and other things. So there are many multiple challenges. I think as a Delhi NCR, we have not thought about. We are talking more about development, urbanizations, moving the city, expanding the city. But at the same time, that planning of, tackling this whole environmental challenge, not about the air pollution. You go to the, like water pollution, it's a huge challenge if you will go to this industrial area. Even what water I am, taking in Vaishali area, it seems to be, from the touch you can smell, you can understand what type of water is there. So I think that thought process is very much lacking. I think we need a very comprehensive, dynamic, and very maybe tough approach. I can say that the way the CNG buses were stopped in one day. So you need to very serious challenge, think very seriously. Otherwise, it's too difficult to manage. I think after 5 to 10 years.
Nimish, there is another issue here when it comes to air pollution, and we have not touched upon it. We have not. Have we not given a serious thought in pushing green, but economically friendly, even profitable? Profit is not a bad word. Technologies for MSMEs, which is the backbone of the Indian economy. That's the elephant in the room. You can't do without MSMEs in this country. And if you look at the production center of MSMEs, you'll understand the sort of pollution which is happening, both water, solid, and even air. And we have not done anything to incentivize them, because ultimately we are social beings. The first thing which we need to do is to feed family, feed children, take care of elders in the house. After that, these issues come in.
That's very true, actually. MSMEs are responsible for a major chunk of the particulate matter that is being emitted across this country, actually, not just city. Even the black carbon emissions have been attributed mostly to the MSMEs of the country. And there have been some schemes which government is actually trying to implement to limit the emissions that is happening from these MSMEs. Like, these MSMEs are quite small scale, and they have very less capacity to make profits, so they burn anything and everything that they get, which actually amounts to a huge amount of air pollutant being emitted across the country. We are actually seeing that in Bhiwadi. It used to be in Delhi, which have over the time have shifted to the fringes of the NCRs. Now, to limit these, I think it's Panipat, where they are coming up with common boilers. They need to get steam or energy produced. So rather than regulating all these small MSMEs, which are huge in number, government is trying to promote a single point of power, like common boiler for one industrial cluster. So they are actually doing that in Surat, which has been successful.
Aren't we too late? I remember in 2019, I was in Vladivostok. I'd gone to cover it, but became a part of the East Asia Summit as one of the member speakers. And I was very amused that some of the, at some side, because it was in late September, if I recall it correctly, there was a lot of steam coming, and I was told that Vladivostok as a city does not allow individual boilers at home.
True.
It does not allow you to heat your water. City does it for you.
True.
To conserve energy. So there is no individual geysers at home. You get hot water, but hot water is equally shared by rich, middle class, poor people. So the city ends up conserving a lot of energy.
That is true actually. We are late because our target is not exactly set. We talk about air pollution when we see it actually. So we are not trying to reduce pollution. We are trying to reduce smoke. Because the sources of emissions remain the same, be it summer or winter. The number of vehicles plying on the road remains the same, be it May or June or November or December.
I think that's a very important point. People see smoke, but they don't understand that you can have a pollution even without smoke.
Yeah. So we are having the same amount of emissions happening throughout the year, but we are concerned. We have the grad action plans and all these plans when winter sets in, when we see that smoke. So I think the problem lies on that part, that we are not exactly trying to reduce the pollution. Also, the planning on that part is that we have these city action plans, but major sources of air pollution, almost all the studies, be it TERI or any other organization that have conducted, comes from residential sector, the biomass burning, which happens outside the city. The industries are located outside the city. The bricklins are located outside the city. So when we have major sources which are located outside the city, how is an urban local body be able to restrict or limit the pollutions from those sources? Because it's outside its jurisdiction. So I think the target and the jurisdiction are not exactly set. Now we are actually working towards the airshed plan. It's a bit delayed, but yes, the steps are being taken. I think Uttar Pradesh has done that part. They have demarcated their own airshed at the state level, and now they are working towards the micro airsheds. So a step in the Indo-Gangetic belt, I think, will have a pretty huge impact at the national scale. So we are working towards it. It's a slow process, but yes, the target wasn't actually rightly set at this point of time.
Kavita, you wanted to come in?
You know, everyone's been talking about what the government is doing and not doing, and about policy. We have policy makers here, but because I work on the ground level, so I want to just contribute by saying that whenever even a handful of individuals understand the situation in your city, in your country, and you feel I can do a little bit, यानी कि बूंद बूंद से ही घड़ा भरेगा. So I would really encourage everybody who's watching this show that please step up, because as citizens, as children, everybody can contribute. I work on the ground level with school kids, with universities. I've also been to your university, KR Mangalam, and done something. I don't think you remember it, but I do. So I work with school students. We do plantation of trees. With RWAs, we are doing waste management workshops with them. In fact, even during COVID, we did some workshops because people could sit in the lawn and understand how compost can be made. So it's not about the big, garbage heaps which are burning, which are creating the, air pollution. It's also within our homes, outside our homes, on the roads, in colonies. So I think waste management, plantation of trees, understanding how to cut your carbon footprint. So we are addressing women, because mothers play a very important role even in pollution. I don't think people are understanding. Look at plastic pollution. The whole kitchen is ruled by the lady of the house. She can make the move. Even air pollution, your stoves, what you're cooking, what you're throwing out, whether you're segregating your garbage or not. So I think everybody has a role to play. The idea is to get together, make a movement, create more awareness campaigns, involve as much people as we can, because I would not like to sit here and blame the state government or the Modi government and say, not enough is being done. Let us all look inside, how much are we doing? Am I walking to my nearby market, or am I pulling out my car or scooty? Am I able to tell my children to not burst crackers because it's already very dirty? Or am I getting into an argumentative mode with the government and saying, no, because you're saying don't do this, I would like to do this?
Kavita, Swachh Bharat, to you, Partho, and then to you. Swachh Bharat was a successful campaign in terms of visible solid waste.
Yeah.
So people came out, and it was sort of a public mobilization, and it came with idea of it was introduced simultaneously with toilets, the whole idea of dignity for women not to go out in fields, So it was part of a larger rubric package, but but the yaksh prashna here is that are we looking authoritarian mode of action will work? Because awareness campaigns, I have noticed, have a time shelf, which is exuberance, participation, and then dullness, monotony.
You see, Karthikeya, the winner for the Swachh Bharat consecutively has been Indore, right?
Yes.
It has been winning this award for constantly, consistently. And when I look at how they went into it, one of the key things that comes to me is the carrot and stick policy, which they did it. And they did it, you have to give it to them, they did it in just 1.5 years. It's not that it took them 5 years or a decade to come to this habit of, segregation of waste at the source at home. What I'm trying to say is the carrot and stick policy is very important, and it starts with acknowledging the problem. Whether it is the SMEs within the MSMEs, whether it is the heavy-duty trucks within the transport, or whether it is the waste which is there. Until unless we understand that there is a problem, we recognize it, we cannot get into either facilitating any kind of a control mechanism by penalizing it, trying to have a corrective action, or to recognize that there is a good action being done by the other party and provide them some kind of...
Because, Partha, there is an issue. You can clean your water. You can choose not to drink it for 5 hours.
You can't do that with air.
You can't do that with air. The time has not come which people saw in Beijing where they had to wear filters, the
Absolutely.
mask.
And biggest problem is that when it comes to waste burning, you don't know what is burning. You see, when it is a biomass burning, it is wood burning, paper burning. When it's waste, there are household chemicals which are getting to it, which are reacting within themselves, and the new leachate is forming, and that is being burnt. So we do not know the toxicity which Sir was talking about. Actually, that is happening there, and that is not measured because we do not have a standard for toxicity right now. So it is a very, very complicated issue, and we have to actually look at it in a very, very microscopic manner.
Avikal, and then to you, Papa.
So coming back to the point of putting emphasis on people and making enthusiasm, if you all remember, there was something called Rahagiri happening in Delhi NCR. Where did it go? People were enthusiastic, people were coming out in streets, and everything was happening. So there is a limit, as you said, there is a shelf life to how much people's organic reactions and enthusiasm will last. And if that thing is not captured by the government to make that thing into a infrastructural solution or systematic change in the way the city works, the city is managed, things will not sustain beyond a certain few years. Like Rahagiri died in 3-4 years. It's not, we don't have pedestrianized CP or Galeria market nowadays. Not happening. People are not even showing up.
You just need to go to Khan Market and count the number of cars there.
Yeah, simple. So one thing you've been asking what Delhi can do right away, have a parking policy. If you go to London, if you go to New York, people have cars, they don't drive it because they know they won't be able to park, and if they park wrongly, they'll be charged a hefty fee which they cannot manage. Delhi can't do it. Delhi has not been able to do it for years. There have been Supreme Court orders asking Delhi government to do it. They are not doing it. Yeah, simple as that. You need to incentivize use of good things, but you also need to de-incentivize use of bad things. So where is this whatever coming?
Yeah. Okay, I'm falling short of time, sir, to you, and then closing comment from you. Barely 4 minutes left.
I just want to say 2 important things. For water, in India, there are only 13 or 15 groundwater modelers, experts. I'm telling you, because I am one of the NABARD accredited hydrogeologists. You don't have people. Similarly, in Iowa State, when you were talking earlier in the morning, Iowa State, you have for fuels, wherever you have petrol station, you have 2 things. They are tier 1 software, tier 2 software. And then they have a certified environmentalist for those things. So what I mean to say is that unless you do that kind of surveying and monitoring of the things, and that will solve the problem, because unless you have experts to know about that what problem is coming in one particular area, you will not be able to solve. Politicians, they don't know about. They just make a gimmick and do all the things, you know. So you have to be little scientific on that issue. That's my concern.
Yeah, I think all, we can blame politicians, but I think the decision making and the forthrightness, if they display it a little more, I think the problems starts to resolve from there, because ultimately people listen to politicians. That's the nature of the democracy. So, to close this conversation, can you just list out number of suggestions have been made? What are the things which we Delhiites need to do, or Delhi as a government needs to do, or MCD needs to do, or the central government needs to do, or the LJ needs to do, to ensure that we breathe better air? If you can just list out 2 or 3 things.
No, sir. One thing we all the time we think about NCR or Delhi. India is not, India is a different notion and different place, It is not that elitists are living over here and we all, we claim everything. We have to, one thing is there that one danger, what I see, is that entire groundwater, after some time, will become totally, it is laden with chemicals. Because what the behavior of the industry is, I have seen myself, I went to see 2-3 places, and I was surprised how in the night, all the chemicals, the waste and everything, that goes into the ground. Just they dig the pipes and everything is thrown out. So who is going to control that? So it is like a committing murder. They are committing murder, daylight, in daylight. And they throw the bodies in the night. During day, they collect all this the waste, chemicals and everything, and whatever the waste is there, and in the night, they throw in the groundwater, and in the rivers or wherever the water bodies are there. So that is a great danger, because if we don't have water to drink, then how many people are going to import water, can import water from outside? So that is a great danger. The 2 is that enforcement. Enforcement is missing, frankly. Enforcement, because the political leadership, they call the pollution control boards, and they meet me when they say, sir, अब हम क्या करें? हमारा मंत्री बुला रहा है और कह रहा है कि नहीं, तुम चुप करके बैठ जाओ. अब ये जो fear है, how can we remove that fear? This is a very practical thing. So many people, they come and they meet me, but then in confidence that, sir, हमारा नाम नहीं आना चाहिए. अब जब नाम नहीं आना चाहिए तो क्या करेंगे आप? So these are the problems,
I think because, we are really falling short of time. I'll conclude it. Vijay, 30 seconds. Because, 30 seconds and I need to conclude it.
I think we have to go back to our social norms earlier. देखिए, समाज में बहुत अच्छा सिस्टम था. जो चीज़ अच्छी है, समाज उसको प्रमोट करता था, और जो चीज़ खराब है, हम बोलते थे ये पाप है. हमें उस लेवल पे जाना होगा. इन द नेम ऑफ मॉडर्न साइंस एंड ग्रेडिंग वी हैव स्टार्टेड जस्टिफाइंग द क्राइम्स. ये बहुत खराब हो. अगर कोई पॉल्यूट कर रहा है, जैसे आज भी गांव में आप जाइए, कोई थाली में खाना छोड़ता है तो ये कहा जाता है पाप लगेगा, खाना मत छोड़ो. फूड वेस्ट इज कंट्रोल्ड इन विलेजेस. दिल्ली के हर 5-स्टार होटल में फूड वेस्ट होता है, वी टेक इट एज ए प्रेस्टीज. आई थिंक अनलेस वी डिफाइन वेरी क्लियरली कि क्या पाप है और क्या सही है, ये साइंटिफिक जस्टिफिकेशन में वी आर ओनली जस्टिफाइंग द क्राइम्स.
You see, because our conversation was on haze and air pollution, I'd like to conclude on that ground. What I have really understood with the conversation from all of you is that Delhiites tend to understand pollution whenever they see smoke. The wider idea of pollutants existing in atmosphere is not there. That is why our debates are winter-centric. When Purley is burning, when you see yellow sky, one. The second thing which I take away from this debate is that we have not worked on SMEs and MSMEs, and we have not incentivized them in terms of profitable e-technologies. The third thing is standardization, which Dr. Tare spoke about. We need standardization of indexes. That's the third thing. Fourth thing is Walking, very important. Most cities promote cycling, walking. You go to any part of big city, Tokyo, New York, San Francisco, you will not like to take a taxi. You would just like to walk. London, you would just like to walk. I remember, I think it was in 2007, I must have walked 7 hours in London till my foot started hurting. I just didn't take a taxi, and I was cursing myself that why did I wear a leather shoe? Because it was a formal occasion and Dr. Manmohan Singh was supposed to receive that award in Cambridge. So that's a very important point you made. And yes, the point on studying the Indo-Gangetic plain, the way air gets trapped, is another point. But the bottom line here is that our air pollution debates are getting trapped in culture wars. And I think that's the great injustice we do to our future generation, because there is no way where we have quantified how air is getting cleaned by natural process. You can clean the water and quantify it. You can treat the solid waste and quantify it. But how do you treat the air in and around Delhi? I haven't seen that research. You have index to monitor it, but you don't have the procedures to say that this part has been cleaned, because that air does not provide you that privilege. So the bottom line is the way Ministry of Forest and Environment were bifurcated by the present regime. I think we require a different nodal agency at a central level where air pollution is tackled at a broad strategic level and a tactical level with working technologies, because I don't think no political party will have the stomach to compensate the issue of sustainability of daily life. Once you deal with that, then you will be able to deal with air, because then people will participate. So I would like to thank all of you. I think there must have been many other points we could have put on table, but I think time is a privilege and I fell short of it. So thank you, all of you. So you were watching our special edition of our boardroom. Many more will come on different topics. Our next edition will be on road safety. So please do join us whenever we live cast it on our TV9 digital network. Thank you.